Yo, what's up? My name is VultV3. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be telling the story of how I got suspended the first week of my junior year. So this story starts off on the first Thursday of my 11th grade year, and so far, the school year was going pretty normal. Nothing too crazy was going on, at least not yet anyway. Now, honestly, at the time, I didn't want to be there at all. I hated school back then, but little did I know, I was about to hate it just a little bit more. Anyway, this Thursday morning started off pretty normal right up until after lunch. So after lunch, everyone would go out to this pavilion right outside the cafeteria. And that is where I was this day. I was sitting there with a few other kids and this one kid named D. Now at the time, me and D were on pretty good terms. We really didn't have any issues with each other. There was like 10 minutes left of lunch, and honestly, I can't even remember how this conversation got brought up. I think we both started talking about how we didn't even want to be at school, and then one of us brought up how we could throw hands and just get an easy 3-day vacation. That's just truthfully how we were thinking back then. At this point, we started to improvise a plan, and that plan was that as soon as the bell rings, we were going to step on each other's Air Force Ones and then start swinging over that. And when we got into the office and they asked what we were fighting over, that's what we were going to tell them. And that is exactly what we did. We were standing in the pavilion, the lunch bell rang, and all the other students started walking back to their next class. So we started walking with them, but I walked up to D and I stepped on his red Air Forces, and then he was all like, oh hell no, and stepped back on my black Air Forces. At that point, we dropped our backpacks and started swinging on each other. Now, I know I said we planned this fight, but this was still very much a real fight. I'd say it was pretty even, we both got our hits in. At this point, a teacher and a coach seen what was happening and proceeds to run over and break it up. They made sure to keep us separated all the way to the office. Now, once we get to the office, the coach tells my principal what happened. So my principal pulls up the cameras that were out near the pavilion and we rewatched what just happened. Now apparently no one was recording this fight on their phone, so this was the only time I ever got to rewatch it. This was around the time my high school principal started going on his power trip. I plan to make more videos about that in the future. Anyway, he gave us a chance to explain ourselves, and D proceeded to explain that I had stepped on his red Air Forces, and in the hip hop community that was a major sign of disrespect. My principal had a smart ass remark about how we weren't in the hood and we needed to quit pretending to be gangbangers. My principal basically said that I obviously didn't learn my lesson my sophomore year because I had gotten in fights and suspended a few times in the year prior, so he was skipping all of that and calling the police and then our guardians. So I'm sitting there pissed. D was just confused, and I remember he said, I've never even been in this office before today, and my principal just didn't care. So thankfully, my grandpa gets to the school before the cops do. Now at this point, my principal is trying to explain to my grandpa the situation, but when my principal said that he called the police, he was like, yo, let's go. So I stand up and tell my principal to his face that he is straight tripping, and then my grandpa and I left the school before the cops could even get there. So I'm sitting there on the way home in the car just thinking that we dodged the police and I just got a suspension for a few days. So when I got home, I go outside and I'm just chilling in my backyard, when eventually after a few minutes I hear my name being called from my back door. It was my grandpa saying that the police was at my house to talk to me. So I went through my back door and out my front door into my front yard to talk to this county cop that my principal had sent to my house because I dipped on him basically. Now, apparently they were worried that me or D might retaliate on one another, and pretty much once I reassured the cop that me and D were back on good terms and we settled our differences with our previous fight that day and I didn't plan to seek retaliation, he left, and I went back inside and lived out the rest of my suspension. Now, this is where my junior year starts to go downhill. If you want to hear the next story in my junior year nightmare, drop a like and leave a comment. Anyway, it's been Vulch. I'm out. Peace.